So continuing on now, getting these perfectly square, and I've glued the horizontal planes in place. This is the dog bone for the planes. It doesn't really take that long to cut through this stuff. The trick is to make sure that the two dog bones themselves don't bind. Okay, so here's the rudder, and as you can see that's working quite nicely, and here is the new one, and I've given that a lot of clearance just there because it's going to be sitting in here like that, and I want clearance for this arm primarily as that swings around. But I'm going to put the ball joint down there on the bottom corner. Okay, rudder, prop, and that's where they're going to turn. So for the first time now I'm putting the connector on for the propeller. I actually rebuilt this a bit later and made it longer. That was something that I'd learned from the Nautilus, which I'd forgotten here. But I used a piece around about 40mm long in the end. And each of them, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grub screws in it. How good is this? You haven't seen all the pain in between, but it's been a process of fiddling and getting that right. Now this is the full range of movement that you're seeing here. That's pretty exciting. So now I'm going to fit the seal and start assembling the whole thing. Just need a bit of Vaseline around that O-ring. Poke it into its little groove. This has been carefully marked. It only goes on one way. It's always the same when you scratch build. That's it. Going to bolt this into place. In a process like this, you bolt and unbolt many times. Here we are. RC working, connected, and now full turning ability. It's great. Oh, it's very sexy. And here's the propeller running. First time you've seen it run. I've had a problem in that I've purchased a speed controller which is only one way. Have to be careful about the advice you get sometimes. So I'm now making the end cap for the new motor room, and I want it to be as small as possible. Fitting here the direct drive collet, using 4 grub screws in this. You can see now it's just a stub. This is the new shell. I've used acrylic glue to glue the end on, and I've tested it and it's beautifully waterproof. And I'm now putting the wires in place because I want this now to be finished. These are the heavy wires for the power. I'll put a bit of brass bracket in there, and now it's got its O-ring in place. I'm testing it with some pressure. I've actually also added a little spot there that I can do a pressure test. I'm just using I'm just blowing into it using my lungs, and that's the way to test if there's any leaks, and there's nothing. I have to hold the cap on at the same time because the pressure will pop it off. And it is completely leak-proof. And that's been because I've epoxied the wires in, as you know, through the holes in the end cap. Okay, there's the motor. It's now all completely as it will be in the boat. Very happy with that. I can now leave this alone. I do need to replace my speed controller. I can now leave this alone and move on to where the action is going to be. It's looking great, isn't it? It's also looking lethal. That would take duck legs off. And we need plenty of leverage on this rudder, because this boat's going to be very difficult to maneuver. And now you're just seeing me get a head start now on getting the planes ready for the sail. It's a different process. I just need a little arm in the middle that I can silver solder onto, and this is it. And I'm using now exactly the same process that you've seen with the larger planes. And once again, just gluing the stub into place. I've obviously spent a fair bit of time lining all of this up and making sure it's nice and square, and I've marked on the shell, as you can see. But that's it. That's how they're going to work. And I now have to think about the servo and how that's going to fit. Beautiful.